All right, we are recording, and the name of today's workshop, meeting, session, I guess, is Forgiveness is Freedom. So I'm going to talk about forgiveness. I'm going to talk about what forgiveness is, and then we're going to go through three different forgiveness exercises to try out and see what you like and see what works for you. If something doesn't work for you, then you can discard it. There's no dogma here. There's no like you have to do it this way. It's try this, try this, try this. Find out what works really well for you. Take them all. Take one of them. Take none of them. Whatever kind of works. But before I get into the exercises proper, I just want to sort of set the ground about forgiveness a little bit, because I think there's oftentimes some misconception, and that holds people back from being able to forgive. So, from my perspective, forgiveness is when I let go of the emotional charge around some harm that I perceive some other person or persons doing to me. So, somebody calls me a name, I get upset about it. If I hold on to that upset, um, very often we're clinging to that because it makes us feel safe. It's like a piece of armor that we have, right? If I hold on to this anger, or I hold on to this grief, or I hold on to this hurt, I'm not going to allow that person to hurt me again, or that sort of thing. So for me, forgiveness is not forgetting that person, if I allow them to transgress, they may harm me again. It's not necessarily that. But forgiveness is about letting go of the emotional charge that I'm carrying around, right? Because that armor can also act like a little bit of a prison that we can have a hard time moving outside of. But I think people think if I let go of this feeling, or it's so hard for me to forget what this person did or what these people did, or that sort of thing. Um, we're not asking to forget. We're not asking to suddenly like lose anything that we've learned. We can still learn the lessons of having been hurt and have still have boundaries with people. Um, an example is I've done a lot of work around, um, you know, a couple people that are no longer in my life and no longer allowed to be a part of my life because of their harmful behavior. I've let go of a lot of the emotional charge. It's a process, and forgiveness is a practice and a process. It takes time. It doesn't happen instantaneously. That's another misnomer, I think, that holds people back, or misunderstanding that holds people back about forgiveness, is that, oh, I'm going to decide to forgive this person and I'm never going to feel bad again. I think that's maybe an unreasonable expectation. So I can let go of the emotional charge I have with these people that have done things to me that I see as harmful, but I don't let them back into my life. That's not what forgiveness is. That, if I do, that's my choice. And I make it from a place of being more centered and calm emotionally. But I don't suddenly become stupid because I forgive, right? I don't suddenly like forget or like let go of the things that I learned from being in relationship to somebody who is harmful, right? I don't have to let that person back in my life. I don't have to, let go of my boundaries with this person. If I know somebody is going to potentially harm me again, I don't have to let them back in. So that's sort of one tier and one way that I look at forgiveness that's been really helpful. And I also know that when I'm carrying around grief or hurt or anger, like I don't feel good. And um, those things are bad for us. They're bad for our health. They're bad for our mental health. They're bad for our spiritual health. They're bad for our physical health, right? Stress and cortisol build up in our system and wreak all kinds of havoc on our physical systems, on our energetic systems. And so we want to have more freedom by letting go of some of that really negative emotional charge that we might be carrying around. So we're going to do a few exercises around that are geared specifically towards forgiveness and freedom today. I've got three exercises picked out. They come from different traditions. I'll talk about what all of those are, and where specifically where these things come from, and we'll try them. We'll do them together. Um, Do you have any questions so far about anything? No questions so far? Okay, all right. And feel free, because it's just you and I right now on here. So feel free to like jump in with any questions you might have. So what happens in my experience is that when I start to let go of the emotional charge of a situation or something that happened previously or somebody who has hurt me in the past, I feel more freedom with the way that I can act towards that person, with the choices that I can make, right? So I'm not coming from a place of reactivity or a place of wounding. I have more choices. I have more freedom in my life. I feel better personally, right? I feel happier. I feel that sort of thing. And I can also bless people, even people who may have caused me harm in the past. And one of the things that can hold us back from forgiveness too is a sense of righteousness, right? A sense of, well, I am justified in my bad feelings towards this person because of the way they hurt me, right? I feel really righteous about that. And this isn't about that. This isn't about whether your feelings are right or wrong. There's no judgment here. There's no like, your feelings are your feelings. If you felt hurt, you felt hurt. The only question is, how long do you want to carry that around? How long do you want to carry those feelings around, right? And there's an old there's an old saying that's been attributed to the Buddha, but I don't think the Buddha actually said this. I think somebody else said it, and it's been attributed to the Buddha. But is it holding on to anger is like holding on to a hot coal and then expecting it to burn the person who hurt you, right? You're hanging on to this, it's harming you, right? Or it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. Holding on to those feelings is not keeping us safer, is not you know, getting back at the other person. But it can feel that way sometimes. It can feel like, well, it serves them right if I'm angry at them, or, we can feel really righteous about it. Um, and it's fine. And also things like grief and anger and hurt, like it can take a while to work through that, depending on how big the hurt is, depending on how old it is, depending upon whether the person is still being harmful towards you. It can take a while to let go of that. So again, like none of these things I think are instantaneous. You're going to let go of everything that's ever happened to you in your life, kind of things, but they're helpful. They're all meant to be really helpful. I've experienced really great, very kind of sweet results with these exercises in my own life. And by sweet, I just mean I feel better when I do them. So this is what I mean by forgiveness is freedom, that we really are um, trying to get to a state of our own emotional freedom. Forgiveness is not something we're doing for the other person. Although some of these exercises that we'll do will involve like picturing the other person, wishing them well, that sort of thing. It's not about benefiting them. It's about benefiting you. And it's about letting go of those, um, maybe those feelings that we have that are not fun to be carrying around. So, um, any questions about any of that so far? Pretty straightforward, pretty straightforward. So I often include forgiveness exercises. I teach a little bit of like spiritual alchemy, because alchemy is all about transformation, and transforming, you know uh, on a material scale, right? Most people think of alchemy, people turning lead into gold or base metals into gold of some sort. Oh, here's Jessica coming in. We'll give her a second to join in. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I don't think she's connected to voice yet, but there we go. Hello.
Hi there.
I see the top of your head, I think.
Sorry, I forgot about the meeting and I was making some food and now I'm eating.
Oh, no worries, no worries. You do not have to be on camera if you're not comfortable. You don't have to talk if you're not comfortable, or you're eating or whatever. It's totally fine. But feel free to jump in with questions if anything comes up.
All right.
Anyway, so we're talking about forgiveness, and just briefly, just a brief recap of what I went through. We're going to do some exercises in a moment I've got three of them picked out that I think are really great. There are many, many others out there in the world, but these are three that have worked really well for me and with clients and students. And
Mhm.
and so I'm really happy to lead people through these. And one of them is a little rare. It's a little hard to find, actually. If you were to like search it out, can be a little harder. So I enjoy sharing it. Um, so we're talking about how, for me, my definition of forgiveness is letting go of an emotional charge that you have been carrying around from somebody who may have you perceive them as having caused you harm in some way, right? They've transgressed, they've hurt you, they've done things on purpose, accidentally, whatever. We're holding on to some emotional charge. And I've said that letting go of that emotional charge benefits us. It may benefit the other person, but it definitely benefits us. And forgiveness is about us. It's not about the other person. And it's not about forgetting. So forgiveness and forgetting are two different things. Forgetting isn't necessarily always appropriate, right? So if somebody has harmful behavior towards us and they have not changed their behavior towards us, we might not let them back in our lives, but we may want to let go of the emotional charge that we have that we've been carrying around, right? If we're carrying around anger or grief or hurt or anything else, we don't want to hold on to that. We want to feel free, to have freer choices in our lives, to not be very reactive. So, this is really what we're talking about from a forgiveness perspective. It's not about letting somebody else off the hook. It's not about not asking for the things you need, including somebody to change their behavior or to change the way they speak to you. I always I'm very fond of the expression we teach people how to treat us, but also you have a right to be treated and spoken to in a way that you want, and to not accept behavior or speech from other people that you deem as harmful, and you have every right to set boundaries around that. And people who would sort of knowingly transgress those things without caring, we have to sort of, have a look at that, and why they think it's okay to do that. If somebody says, please don't say this to me, it's very triggering, or that's harmful to me, why we're like, well, it's my right to harm you or trigger you. Um, anyway, so we're going to go into some actual exercises around forgiveness, and there's only one of these exercises is really specific to forgiveness, but I find the other ones work really well for forgiveness as well, if we have like one kind of minor adjustment to one of them. And it's really, really small. So with that, I will get into the three exercises I want to lead people, unless there's any questions. Or does anybody have any questions before I get into the practices? Nothing? Okay. Um, So, as somebody pointed out in the tribe, and I really loved this, this reminder that forgiveness is a practice. It's not a one-time thing. It's not I decide to forgive this person who harmed me for 20 years and all of a sudden everything dissolves. It's something that I'm most likely going to have to work at. For me, it's worth it to spend time to work on this because I don't like carrying those feelings around, and they're not great for those harmful, stressful, angry, reactive feelings are not good for our mental health. And the first exercise I'm going to take you through, there are actual studies around just doing this exercise that show it's really, really great for your health, for your mental health, for your social relationships, even. So the first exercise is, and people may be familiar with this already, but we're going to practice it together. Um, this is a meditation that comes from Buddhism. Although you do not have to be Buddhist. It is a completely secular meditation. There's no reference to any deity or spiritual individual or anything in here. Anybody can do this. That includes people who would be consider themselves atheistic or anything. Anybody can do this. So this is a meditation called metta, metta. There are variations of this. There are many different variations of this. We'll use one, a really simple one today. And metta has been translated as loving kindness meditation. So the goal of this is to generate loving and kind feelings towards others, but also towards yourself. Oh, you're currently reading about metta in your book. Very good. Awesome. Well, fortuitous timing, as happens here very often. That's great. Yeah, it really is such a sweet meditation. I really love it, and I try to make it part of my practice pretty often. So what we're going to practice together, and we're going to do a few rounds, and in each round, I'm going to have you visualize or imagine or bring to mind a different person, and I'll talk about who that's going to be for each round. And then so we're going to do several recitations, and you can do those. They do not have to be out loud. You can do them in your head. Um, and so we'll go through, I'll tell you who you're going to imagine. You can close your eyes, picture that person standing in front of you is the traditional way to do it, and focus in on their heart center and focus in on your heart center, like you're making a heart to heart connection with this person. So the first person I will have you imagine in this exercise is somebody that you have fond feelings for. This could be somebody living
Sorry, what feelings?
fond feelings. You have very positive
Fond feelings. Sorry.
yeah, fond feeling. Yes, nope, no problem. Fond feeling, very positive feelings for this person, right? So you think, well, there's nothing to forgive for this person. I love this person. This person's fantastic. I have really wonderful feelings towards this person. And so imagine, if you can, that person standing in front of you, and kind of tune into your heart center, and at the same time tune into their heart center. And then in your mind, you're going to say the following phrases to this person. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you find peace. May you be kind to yourself. And may you be free from suffering. All right. So now let that person go after you've wished that person well and you have these feelings, you're wanting to generate these feelings of loving kindness towards this person. You let them go. And now imagine a person for whom you have kind of a neutral feeling. Maybe it's somebody you don't know well, but you encounter in your daily life. Maybe it's the cashier at the post office, or somebody that you don't really know really well. You don't have strong feelings either way. But imagine them standing in front of you, and close your eyes, and we'll go through the same set of recitations. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you find peace. May you be kind to yourself. May you be free from suffering. All right, and give that a second, and then allow that person to walk off or float away. And then imagine somebody for whom you might need to feel a little bit of forgiveness. Somebody for whom maybe you have a little bit of what we might call a negative feeling towards. Maybe there's some hurt, maybe there's some anger. Um, it's okay. And imagine this person in front of you, and imagine their heart opening up and your heart opening up in the same space. And again, we're going to wish the same thing towards them. So we'll do the same set of recitations. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you find peace. May you be kind to yourself. May you be free from suffering. And when that feels complete, and you feel, just tune in with yourself and see if some of whatever you were feeling before for that person has maybe dissolved a little bit. Maybe you feel a little bit better when you think about this person. And if there's any movement at all, we sort of, it's great. And if not, that's okay too, right? We can still wish this person well. The last round we're going to do, we're going to just open our heart up and we are going to wish these same things to ourselves. So we're going to do the same set of recitations, but we're going to change it up to may I. So imagine your own heart opening up and recite, may I be well. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I find peace. May I be kind to myself. May I be free from suffering. And that is kind of the end of that. And that's called metta. You can find lots of different variations of that online in books and that sort of thing. Does anybody have any feedback or questions about that meditation?
I'm familiar with it.
Oh, okay,
Not
good.
quite that, but a similar thing. We live by a law called utu, which literally means revenge.
Interesting.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, or payback, payment.
Mm-hmm.
But once payments made and that void's filled, we do a similar thing, like
Okay.
we've just done here with our hearts. Again,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
hearts.
Mm-hmm.
A similar thing to close it, and then it's finished.
Gotcha.
Utu's, complete. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Jessica, I know you're eating, but anything from you? Anything from your side?
No, I'm familiar with that one. Just because I've been rereading the first part of this book, Loving Kindness, The Revolutionary Art of Happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I can't seem to get past the first couple of chapters before I'm like, nope, that was just too deep. I can't just go through it once, and I just keep starting over.
Gotcha.
Um,
A few
but
books like that as well.
yeah. And I was actually gonna say that I added tapping to the whole
Mhm.
process, just because I'm finding that that's a really helpful tool in, some blocked energy that I'm
Yeah.
finding is causing, physical symptoms in my body. And
Mhm.
that's become one of the most useful tools. And so when I listen to, things like that, whether it's like a ho'oponopono or, some sort of meditation, I'm trying to integrate tapping more often because
Oh, that's
winter is
good.
the most painful season for me as it is. So
Yeah, yeah. That's great. So tapping is a wonderful way to move energy around and that's trapped in the body. So that's really great. And I'm glad you brought up Ho'oponopono because we're actually going to do that. We're actually going to do that next. So um,
nice.
great, great that you mentioned that. Um, and that tells me that you're familiar with Ho'oponopono. Martin, are you familiar with Ho'oponopono at all? Is it something you've heard of or practiced before?
Upono.
It's a Hawaiian word.
Oh, I was going to say it sounds like one of our words, but
Yeah, maybe, I don't know how close those languages are relationally, but yeah,
we
it's
can
certainly,
understand each other. We can
yeah,
understand each other. Just sentence structure's different.
yeah, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, so Ho'oponopono, I'll just do like a really brief introduction. Um, so there's a common practice, or I would say set of practices in Hawaii, amongst Native Hawaiians called Ho'oponopono, which literally means to make things right between people, right? So
Ah,
kind of similar to what you were talking about. Um, and there are many different ways to do it, but the one that has been sort of popularized and passed outside of Hawaiian culture um, was developed by a woman named Morna Simeona. I think it's Morna or Mornea Simeona. I may be mispronouncing her name. She's deceased now, but she was a healer. She was a kahuna, I believe. Her specialty, because kahunas specialized, right? They were sort of there were different types of healers. Morna was a healer, I think either a massage healer or healed with sound or something like that. But she was a healer, and she's like, this is a practice, and I'm going to simplify it so that anybody can do it, and I'm going to pass it outside of the culture. So, is it traditional to the way that all groups within the Hawaiian Islands practice? Probably not. There are probably many different ways to do this, but this one has really caught on. It's a very powerful practice, and so I do use it for forgiveness. People use it all the time for all kinds of emotional clearing um, and that sort of thing. So the basic practice is this. You are going to repeat four phrases. There are four phrases in Ho'oponopono in this branch of Ho'oponopono, and it doesn't matter in which order you say them. And I'll give you a couple of like pieces that aren't always taught along with this, but the phrases are, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you. Now, that might feel like a weird thing to say to somebody who that we have hard feelings that has harmed us. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you, thank you, or whatever order you want to say those phrases in. Um, but you're not really into you're kind of saying those things to yourself, right? I'm sorry, I'm taking responsibility for this event coming into my experience, and I am sorry. Right? Whether or not I wanted it or attracted it or whatever, it came into my experience. And so I'm cleaning this up. I'm taking responsibility and cleaning up the feelings that I have about this experience. Please forgive me. Again, you're asking, this is aimed towards yourself, not towards the other person, right? The other person's there just to stir this stuff up so you can let go of it. Um, so I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. You're saying that to yourself. I love you. I love my higher self. I love, you're intending this loving energy towards yourself. And thank you. Thank you for existing. Thank you for having experience. Thank you for allowing this opportunity to become more loving and to forgive and to let go. So you can do this around anything that disturbs you. Like sometimes if I'm watching the news, I try not to, but I watch the news and I see what's going on in Gaza, or I see what's going on in Ukraine, or I see what's going on in places in Africa, or I see stuff that's going on in the United States, and I get upset about it. I get upset that people are hurting other people, or that people are starving, or that people don't have, what they need to live. And so I clean up my feelings about that, right? And again, um, I'm saying these things to myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this came into my experience. I'm sorry that I am disturbed by this, right? It doesn't mean I'm not going to not be affected at all by hardship, by violence, by all of those things. And doesn't mean that I don't want those things to change for people. I do. It doesn't change, it doesn't make you apathetic, is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't, like, letting go of the gripping, the hard feeling doesn't make you apathetic. It just means you can still care deeply without carrying a lot of pain and a lot of wounding. So this is about sort of clearing that up for yourself. So we'll practice this again. We'll imagine. And so for forgiveness, what we're going to do is we're going to bring somebody again into our mind who we perceived as having caused some harm to us at some point in our life. And it can be anybody, alive or dead. Again, it isn't about healing the other person. It isn't about taking care of them. It isn't about transmitting anything to them. It's about us opening up and allowing our feelings to transform into something, um, and to let go of that emotional charge again. So with that in mind, we'll do several rounds of the sayings, but with the same person, right? So we won't go through the whole thing like we did with metta, but we will imagine this person. Um, imagine some person in your life who has done something that has been, that you feel like you're carrying some emotional charge that you would like to let go of. So again, as much as you can, tune into your heart. And we are saying these things to ourselves. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. We'll do a few more rounds of that. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And thank you. A couple more times. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And thank you. And one last time. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And thank you. All right. And just take a quick check-in. I'd love to hear how you feel after practicing that just for a few rounds with one person. I mean, definitely don't have to share if you don't feel comfortable, but
Oh, I'm definitely smiling
uh-huh.
inside. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great. Jessica, anything on your side? And you don't have to share if you don't feel like it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my feedback limited right now just because like I'm in an open area.
Uh-huh. Yeah, totally fine.
All
Totally great.
right.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Feel free. Great. So again, this can be practiced all the time. Some people who do Ho'oponopono like do it constantly all day long. Everything that comes into their experience, they're cleaning on. Um, I don't think I've got the mental capacity to do that all day long and still get the things done that I need to do. Maybe if it became really habitual, like, and it would be running like in the back of my head. Maybe it would replace some of my other ruminations that are that that are less less fun. Um, Great. So the final exercise that I want to do with you all today um, doesn't have a great name to it. It's called it's an exercise just called like unconditional love and forgiveness. Um, It comes from, I'm going to show you a book, but it comes from this book, which is called Unconditional Love and Forgiveness. The author is Edith R. Stouffer, PhD. She is deceased, and this book is out of print. You can find used copies of this book, but unfortunately, it is can be a little bit expensive. I would say around, for paperback that's in good shape like this, around $40 or something like that, that I've seen it for online. But it's an absolutely wonderful book. And so Edith Stauffer, who wrote this, she came from the psychosynthesis school. So she's a psychoanalyst. She came from the psychosynthesis school, which is a form of psychoanalysis that is transpersonal. So very much a lot of like uh, theories that came from Jung about people being more than just this body mind, and what we actually are extends way beyond that, and we're all interconnected and all of those things. So while she was doing her PhD research, I believe, um, she it was around the time that the Dead Sea Scrolls started to be translated. So if people are familiar or unfamiliar, the Dead Sea Scrolls were a bunch of scrolls that were found close to the Dead Sea in Israel, in a cave, in pots, in clay pots, and they appear to have been hidden away by a group of Israelites called the Essenes, who were on the scene, in the early early part of the Common Era, and a little bit prior to that. So they were probably there, a little bit BC and a little bit after, and they were a communal, sounds kind of weird, communal community. They were communal. They lived communally. They had a set of ethics that they lived by, a strong set of rules that were even stricter than other Israelites. But some of their stuff, some of their code of conduct and their ethics were about forgiveness of others in the community, and it was seen as critical to the harmony of the community to have this, have forgiveness exercises. So this psychologist, Dr. Stauffer, she took some of the teachings of the Essenes and then coded them into an exercise that people could follow, or a series of exercises that people could follow, that seem to have tremendous effect. And I've taught this in an alchemy class that I taught, and people seem to have great effect from it. And I've heard really cool stories come out of this about forgiveness. So I will say there's a little bit of setup here. So let me see if I have any history stuff that I need to go through. I took notes and printed them out. Transpersonal. Okay. Yeah. So there's one piece that I will talk about a little bit. Let me just make sure I'm getting this correct. The nafsha. So the Essenes, there was this structure that was part of our soul. And one thing that's kind of interested me personally is different cultures having multi-part models of the soul or the human being. And so like the ancient Egyptians had very complex multi-part soul model. The Norse have a multi-part soul model. There is a multi-part soul model in the Hebrew Bible and in Kabbalah. And so that exists in lots of different cultures, this multi-part soul model. So there is this part that the Essenes had called the nafsha. And the nafsha is sort of a representation of the higher self. And it's visualized as like a sun-like glowing ball somewhere over the head. So floating above your head is like this maybe basketball sized ball of light, and that's called a nafsha. And I'm explaining that because it'll come into play during the guided meditation that we're about to do. But it is a representation of the higher self that we can access for all kinds of spiritual purposes. Today we're going to access it for unconditional love and forgiveness. So this exercise, so the other exercises that we did today were designed to forgive, just sort of general forgiveness around specific people. This exercise works for a specific incident. So if you can think of an incident, something somebody did or said to you that caused you harm, that you're holding some emotional charge around. This works incident by incident. So you would have to, you would do this for if, you had a challenging relationship with somebody and they'd done a lot of things to you that were hard to forgive. You would do this on multiple incidents. And again, this is about forgiving. It's about letting go of the emotional charge. It is not about forgetting. We don't, there is a note in here. It's like, don't ask people to forget, because that's not necessarily a healthy thing. So I would like you to pick a person who has done or said something it would be good for you to forgive. Again, we do this on work on a single incident. It is not blanket forgiveness in this case. If you choose, you can close your eyes and visualize this person in front of you. Now you're going to say to yourself, I choose to stop punishing myself and feeling bad for what, name this person, has done or is doing. So say to yourself, I choose to stop punishing myself and feeling bad for what this person has done or is doing. And it says unforgiveness is self-punishment. So imagining this person you need to forgive is in front of you. You hold the image of this person in front of you and say, I would have preferred you had said or done, and express to them in your mind what you would have preferred they said or did. I would have preferred you said or did blank. Now say to them, but you didn't do that. So I now release the incident. I choose to let it go and feel free. But you didn't do that. So I now release the incident. I choose to let it go and feel free. Now say to them, therefore, I cancel all demands, expectations, and conditions that you do or say or be anything in the past and now. I canceled the demand that you may be any certain way. You are totally responsible for your actions and deeds, and I release you to your own good. Now imagine raising your consciousness to your higher self, that nafsha that's floating above you. Travel up to it and feel the love that the higher self has for you. Allow the compassion and love from the nafsha to flow into you and release all conditions and expectations and demands. Really feel that part of you that has protected, loved, and nurtured you your entire life. Continue to feel the love from the nafsha, and now say to the person that you are forgiving, I send this love from the nafsha to you just as you are and have been. And feel that love energy flowing out from you to the person. Now become aware of your body again. Check and see if you're holding on to any demands for this person. The mind cannot do a blanket forgiveness. Each incident must be forgiven separately. You can repeat this exercise for small or big hurts. Check in with your willingness to be free if you feel blocked, there may be more to release. All right, and that's the end of that particular exercise. Any questions or feedback? Smiling. You can, and if you don't, like, if you want to, you don't have to have any feedback. You can type feedback if you want, or we don't have to have any feedback, but I just want to open it up if anybody has any questions or anything. All right. Nothing. Okay. Well, that's the end of everything I had planned to do today. I can stay on for a couple minutes if anybody has anything else they want to discuss about the group, or anything else they would like to see us do live. No? Okay. Well, thank you for joining today. Thank you for participating. I did record the session, so it'll be it sometimes takes like overnight or whatever before it's ready, but I will probably tomorrow post the video of this if there's anything you want to go back through and do again, or get clarification on, or anything like that. But very nice to see you guys, and thank you very much thank you for joining.
Thanks for
Thank
having us.
you.
You're welcome. Take care.
See you.